If you're planning to retire in 2026, congratulations, you're stepping into one of the most exciting, yet financially crucial chapters of your life. But before you start dreaming about that long vacation, those relaxing mornings, or finally having time to focus on yourself, I want to talk about something most retirees don't think about until it's too late: Medicare penalties. These penalties can sneak up on you quietly, and once they do, they stick around for life. So before you take that final step into retirement, let's walk through how to avoid them altogether. But first, comment your name and state below. I'd love to see who's watching and benefiting from these videos. It helps me understand where you're tuning in from and what kind of Medicare questions matter most in your area. Now, let's dive in. Every year, thousands of people retire and enroll in Medicare for the first time. But here's the truth: a surprising number of them end up paying extra premiums every single month simply because they missed a deadline or misunderstood a rule. It's not because they did anything wrong on purpose, it's because Medicare enrollment isn't exactly simple. There are rules, exceptions, timelines, and penalties, and if you miss one small detail, it can cost you for the rest of your life. Let's start with a common story. Imagine someone named Linda. She's 65, living in Texas, and she's worked hard her entire life. Her employer offered great health coverage, and she assumed once she retired in early 2026, she could just sign up for Medicare whenever she wanted. But here's where it gets tricky: she didn't realize that once she stopped working, she only had a certain window of time to enroll in Medicare without facing penalties. By the time she applied, she had missed the initial enrollment period. That's the 7-month window that starts 3 months before your 65th birthday and ends 3 months after. Because she missed it, her Part B coverage was delayed, and now she's paying a 10% penalty for every 12-month period she went without it. That means if she waited 2 years, she's paying 20% more, every single month, for life. And here's what most people don't realize: this doesn't just apply to Part B. There are penalties for Part A, Part D, and even for late enrollment in Medicare Advantage if you don't have qualifying coverage in the meantime. Now, let's break down what these penalties really mean in 2026. The Part B penalty is the one that affects most retirees. It adds 10% for each full year you could have had Part B but didn't sign up. In 2026, with Part B premiums expected to rise again, that 10% adds up faster than ever. If the average monthly premium is around $185, and you waited 2 years, that's roughly $37 extra every month, forever. Then there's the Part D penalty for prescription drug coverage. This one hits people who think, I don't take any medication right now, so I'll skip it. But skipping Part D without having other creditable drug coverage triggers a penalty that grows every month you go without it. The penalty is 1% of the national base premium for every month you delay. So if you waited 24 months, that's a 24% increase on your monthly drug plan cost. Now, let's take a look at how these penalties actually impact real retirees. I recently spoke with a viewer from Ohio named Frank. He delayed signing up for Part D because he was healthy and thought he didn't need it. When he finally enrolled 2 years later, his plan cost jumped permanently from $38 a month to over $47, just from the penalty alone. And that's on top of annual plan increases that come with inflation and drug pricing changes. So why do so many people miss these enrollment windows? Honestly, it's confusion. Medicare has so many moving parts: Part A, Part B, Part C, Part D, and the enrollment rules depend on whether you're still working, have group insurance, or have a spouse's plan. It's easy to think you're covered when technically, you're not. For example, if you're still working past 65 and have health insurance through your employer, you may not need to sign up for Medicare Part B right away. But, and this is a big but, that's only true if your employer coverage is considered creditable by Medicare. Smaller employers, especially those with fewer than 20 employees, often don't qualify. In that case, Medicare becomes your primary coverage once you turn 65. If you don't enroll in time, you're not only uncovered, you're setting yourself up for penalties. In 2026, this confusion will likely grow, because more companies are adjusting their retiree benefits and pushing people to switch to Medicare Advantage or Medigap plans instead. That means more people will have to make Medicare decisions sooner than they expect. So, how do you avoid all of this? It starts with knowing your exact situation. If you're still working when you turn 65, ask your HR department, is your insurance creditable under Medicare rules? If yes, you can delay Part B and Part D without penalty. But once you retire or lose that coverage, your countdown starts immediately. From that day, you have 8 months to enroll in Part B without penalty. That's called your Special Enrollment Period. For Part D, though, it's shorter, just 63 days after your coverage ends. Miss either of those, and the penalties kick in. Let's say you plan to retire in June 2026. Mark your calendar right now. If your employer coverage ends June 30th, your Special Enrollment Period for Part B runs through February 2027, and your Part D clock runs through September 2026. Those deadlines matter. Even being 1 month late can cost you for years to come. Now, I know it's a lot to take in, so here's a simple way to think about it. If you're working, confirm your coverage. If you're retiring, enroll in time. And if you're unsure, talk to someone who understands Medicare. In my work with seniors, I've noticed that the people who get hit the hardest with penalties are usually the most responsible ones. They just assume everything will be automatic, or that someone will notify them when it's time to switch. But Medicare doesn't send reminders, and your employer might not either. That's why being proactive is key. Let's also talk about Medigap and Medicare Advantage, because your choice between those two can also affect how smoothly your transition goes. Some people think they'll skip original Medicare and jump straight into Medicare Advantage, but here's the thing, you can't join a Medicare Advantage plan unless you're already enrolled in both Part A and Part B. So if you delay Part B, you're delaying everything. In 2026, many Medicare Advantage plans are expanding benefits, things like dental, vision, and even over-the-counter allowances. But if you're penalized on Part B, you'll pay higher monthly costs even inside those plans. So avoiding penalties isn't just about avoiding a fine, it's about keeping your future coverage affordable. Another common question I get is, what if I'm on COBRA? Does that count? Unfortunately, no. COBRA is not considered creditable coverage under Medicare once you're eligible. That means if you stay on COBRA after 65 and don't sign up for Part B, you'll still face penalties later. It's one of the most common traps retirees fall into. And if you're self-employed or on an ACA marketplace plan, it's the same story. Once you turn 65, you need to switch to Medicare. The ACA coverage doesn't protect you from penalties either. So let's think big picture here. Medicare is designed to protect you from huge out-of-pocket costs, but it also expects you to play by its timelines. Those timelines exist because the program depends on everyone enrolling at the right time to keep costs balanced. But for everyday people like you and me, it means the best defense is simply being informed. Here's a pro tip for 2026, start your Medicare research 6 months before you retire. That gives you plenty of time to check your coverage, understand your options, and line up your enrollment. It also lets you compare plans side by side, Medicare Advantage versus Medigap, prescription drug coverage, and out-of-pocket limits, before you make a rushed decision. And don't just look at premiums. Look at networks, drug coverage, and maximum out-of-pocket costs. You might find that paying a few dollars more in premiums now could save you hundreds or thousands later. Let's go back to Linda for a moment. She eventually got her Medicare sorted out, but that 20% penalty never went away. When she looked at her monthly Social Security check, she realized just how much that small mistake added up to over time. In her words, it's like paying for a plan I don't even use, just because I didn't know. That's why I make these videos. I don't want anyone to pay for something they didn't need to. And the truth is, once you understand how Medicare works, and especially how its deadlines work, it becomes much easier to avoid these traps. So, if you're retiring in 2026, take this as your friendly reminder, mark those key dates, check your employer coverage, and don't delay signing up for Medicare when the time comes. You've worked hard your entire life. You deserve to enjoy retirement without extra bills chasing you every month. If you found this helpful, please share it with a friend or family member who's also retiring soon. You never know whose day, or wallet, you might be saving. And remember, comment your name and state below. I'd love to see who's watching, where you're from, and what kind of Medicare topics you'd like me to cover next. Because retirement should be about freedom, not penalties. And the more you know now, the smoother your transition into Medicare will be.